Thing I want to talk about is a cross screen, and this is usually for a post up or to try to get a quick layup. The most common use of a cross screen is a guard simply cross screening for a big man to try to get good post position, as LA does here, and Gasol gets it and scores. One of my favorite plays involving a cross screen is motion weak, where a point guard will pass it to a wing, the wing will pass it to a big man trailer, and they'll pass it to the point guard getting the ball up top. Then the opposite wing will cross screen for the big man looking for a post up, or here, they get David Lee for a layup. You see this all the time in the NBA. Out of the offensive set horns, Williams will pass it to the high post, then he'll screen away and set a cross screen for Joe Johnson, and here they get him for a layup. Next, let's talk about the back screen, which can be easily described as it's when the screener's back is facing the baseline. Back screens are often used to get layups, or in this case an alley-oop, as San Antonio clears out one side, Splitter sets a back screen for Leonard, and they connect on an alley-oop. A back screen is also used in one of my favorite plays, the hammer, as a guard will drive baseline, a big will set a back screen for a shooter going to the weak side corner, and here Green nails a 3. And something I just saw recently, you can set a back screen for a big man to get good post position, and that's what they do here, and Chris Webber on the 2007 Pistons gets a layup. Now let's talk about a down screen or a pin down, which basically means the same thing. This is often used to get a wing, a jump shot, or a curl to the basket, but an important note, often this is just as much of a play for the big man setting the screen, as 2 will often catch the ball, 4's man will help, so he'll just pass it to 4 for an open shot or a layup. Same screen away stuff we saw earlier out of horns. Williams will set a cross screen, then receive a flex action down screen and hit a jumper. Here's a very common play called floppy or single double, where a guard will have down screens on either side, and just like I talked about earlier, the big man guarding the last down screen steps out, which leaves his man Bonner open for a shot. And one of my favorite plays called the loop you see San Antonio run, they run Tony Parker around 3 screens, and notice Ibaka, who's guarding Splitter, who just set a down screen, step out, which frees Splitter up for a dunk. Moving on to a ball screen, and this is maybe the most common type of screen you'll see, most common in a pick and roll or a screen and roll. Here the Magic run a common pick and roll and Vucevic gets a dunk. But of course, there are many variations with ball screens, and here Orlando runs a double ball screen with one man popping and one man rolling to the basket. This is very tough to stop. You can also run a high post split, which starts with a down screen, which we've talked about earlier, into a dribble pitch / ball screen. That's basketball, folks. A flare screen has been popularized in the NBA recently, and basically it's a screen away from the ball, and in this case one would try to get a skip pass for 2 for a 3-pointer. By far my favorite use of a flare screen is in a flare pick and roll, where Allen will first set a pick and roll, then receive a flare screen, and this is very tough to stop without switching it, and Allen hits a 3. Notice here how Klay Thompson receives a flare screen, but it does not always have to be for a 3-pointer, as here Klay Thompson curls it and gets a layup. You'll often hear me say an alert flare screen, and this is what I mean. Off a pick and roll, Trevor Booker sets one when Ariza's man wanders too far from him and Ariza hits a 3. The last screen I want to talk about is the elevator screen, which has gained more popularity recently. This is when a player sprints between 2 of his teammates, and once here when 2 gets through, 4 and 5 immediately close the gap with the goal of shutting off a defender. You can run this out of any set with any kind of variations, but the basis is the same as Curry sprints through 2 of his teammates and hits a 3.